Hello, and welcome to episode 79 of Prog Review. I'm so excited, I can't believe it. We've done it. We've finally got to the end of the epic Rush trek of the 3 sectors box sets, with the last box set being completed. I've listened to all of them, going against my better nature, but I did it with open ears and an open mind. And we've finally reached the final furlong. Last thing to do, of course, is to just wind up talking about Rush 3, the final sector. Now, for me, it's probably been the least satisfying of the 3 box sets. The award for the most interesting box set goes to number 2. Number 1 was all right-ish. Number 2 had some interesting stuff in it. But number 3... Signals was all right. Grace Under Pressure, yeah, I enjoyed that one. Power Windows, didn't like that at all, but that was mainly down to the production. I found it very difficult. And Hold Your Fire, which is, it's all right, average. And finally, the live album Show of Hands, which I thought just didn't sound right. Well, rewinding back to Rush's Signals album, gave the surround sound mix a listen, and parts of it sounded a bit boxy. It didn't sound too good, but the last 3 tracks I thought it started to come together. New World Man I thought was probably the best track of the album in terms of the surround sound mix. Everything was placed well. Losing It as well with violin, it gave it a lot more atmosphere. And Countdown, the special effects were dotted around so you could hear them. But the rest of it, there's some parts of the surround sound mix that, like I said, it just didn't sound right. It sounded processed. It's hard to explain. It didn't sound like a very natural studio recording. I often use the term boxy, it just sounded a bit like dull or a bit flat. In this case, it did sound like there'd been some compression put on the vocals or that, and the drums didn't sound too well. But like I said, towards the end, the last 3 tracks, it kind of pulled itself together. Again, with this whole box set thing, I think it's you do get the feeling it's been a bit of a slapdash operation, because they select one album out of the 4 to be remixed in 5.1, overlooking some of the other albums that probably are more deserving of it. I think again, Grace Under Pressure, or even Hold Your Fire possibly might have done well with the 5.1 mix, but again, the packaging is nice. There's a lot of repetition in the booklet. You get all the lyrics and you get the pictures and the artwork repeated. There's no little essay in there to give a history of the band, which I always find a little bit lacking in this set. But again, as a trade-off for the price is £30, and for that you get 5 albums for £30, which is, again, it represents good value. Again, when it comes to actually giving it a rating, I wouldn't, I couldn't possibly recommend this box set because I think it's very uneven. Musically, it's uneven. But saying that, if you were to buy this as a Rush fan and you love those albums, it's probably, the best way, to get all the records in one. And it is remarkably good value. But yeah, it's a great shame that it didn't quite work out for me. I did try, I really did. So I'm just going to give this an average 3 bare bottoms out of 5, referencing all those album sleeves with bare bottoms on the front. That's 3 bare bottoms out of 5. And hopefully you can forgive me for this debacle. I think it was a bit ambitious listening to all the albums in sequence, and I've tried to break out with other reviews, dotted them through. Hopefully I haven't annoyed too many of you, and that's it really. it's certainly been interesting listening to Rush's music. I mean, the early period, not such a big fan of. Middle period was interesting because you see a real progression. That was what I found fascinating about the whole process, is hearing the band open up and try new ideas, and again playing with rhythm, getting to that kind of reggae kind of rhythm. A very rhythmic band. This is the problem for me, is whilst they have very good rhythms, the drum and the bass is superb, very often the melodies are lacking. I'm sure some of you will argue with me, the die-hard fans, but that's what doesn't work for me, I'm afraid. And I was thinking about it today. Somebody posted something on my blog saying that they loved Rush but they couldn't get into Genesis, and it got me thinking about the whole cultural aspect of listening to prog music. I mean, for me, Genesis is very much rooted in Britishness. It is probably the quintessential British band, taking their inspiration from their public school roots, hymns from the great poets like Eliot. I mean, I know he's an American, but he was very much almost a naturalised Englishman by the time he died, and The Wasteland is very much a British poem. And the classical music, they take their influences from there. There's very little American or Canadian influence in their music. There wouldn't be. They're Englishmen. That's where they brought. Whereas Rush, you get the feeling they got all their influences, rather than going to the exotic Europe. Rather being focused on Europe, they were focused on Canada and America. So it's kind of come from that history of rock and roll, and that doesn't necessarily speak to me some more. The same way as for a Canadian or an American who've heard, I say Elvis, but if they've brought up on Elvis, they're not necessarily going to understand or get Genesis. So I do think there's kind of a bit of a culture clash going on there. If we don't get each other's bands. Of course, I might be wrong. There'll be people out there that go, "You're wrong, Darren. I love Genesis, or I love Rush. I love them both." That's probably because you've got all the cultural tools to handle those music. It's no longer foreign to you because perhaps you've done your homework. I'm babbling on a bit here. I should have wound up. But anyway, normal service has resumed. So from Prog Review 80, we're back to normal, whatever that might mean. I don't feel particularly normal. I'm sure I don't look normal. My name's been Darren Locke. You've been hearing me blabber, blabber, blah, 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 blah on about Rush Sector 3 box set. And I really want to thank you for being the ones that have watched all of them, for bearing with me, not sending any explosive devices to my house, or threatening to do away with me. I really appreciate the threat of non-violence. And that's it. We come to the end. There's only one more thing to do, apart from thumbs upping and downing and doing all that stuff and the social media and the blah-de-blah. Get all that out of the way. There's only one more thing, and that is to just prog on. That's what we've got to do. We've just got to prog on. Ta-da.